This episode of Linux Action Show is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. Use the code Linux and save.
And welcome to the Linux Action Show, Season 25, Episode 9. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Good morning to you, Matt.
Hey.
You ready for me to tell the folks about the big show?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, Matt. Well, this week, we're going to get our hands on the Ubuntu Touch Preview. We've got it loaded on a Galaxy Nexus 7 and a Galaxy Nexus over here.
Nice.
Or, wait, what? A Nexus 7 and
Nexus
a Galaxy.
7.
Too many Nexus eyes.
Galaxy Nexus.
And, you know, obviously, we're going to cover the look and feel and how to use it. I mean, I think that's a very interesting aspect to this phone.
Absolutely.
It's got a very kind of unique interface. But we're also going to go under the hood and talk a little bit about the technology of how they're actually pulling this off and why, because what the underpinnings they're using might actually give them a better advantage than, say, like Firefox OS in the marketplace.
Oh, okay.
But it's also a controversial decision, so we'll talk about that. And I've done a lot of digging on that, and I think that'll be a very interesting aspect
Meat
of
and
it.
potatoes.
Plus, you know, we're going to have our giveaway announcement
Yes.
in the latter half of the show.
Desktop
contest
contest is done, and we will be announcing that at the tail end.
And then in the news segment, we'll dig into the big stories of the week, like Linus's blow up.
Another one, huh?
Good news.
Linus blew up. You're kidding me.
I know, right? KDE Project's getting all upset with Sony. You've got big news from the ButterOS project and a couple of interesting statistics that I've learned about Steam that will be very interesting for the Linux gamers out there. So big show, Matt. Big show. Why don't we start with our pick this week?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, so you might have heard the headline, the Google Pixel was announced. Of course, it runs Linux, Chrome OS.
Of course.
But if you want to go even further than that, Google Pixel can run Linux Mint or Ubuntu with minimal trade-offs. And this is actually, this originated from a Google Plus post from a employee at Google. And he mentioned that while there was a couple of limitations, it didn't stop him from booting up Linux Mint on the device. In his Google Plus post, he didn't really give too many details, but we know that you take the price of the device. It's $1,300.
It's still a chunk of change, right?
Yeah, it's not super cheap. In fact, I'm a little inclined to say pass on the hardware myself.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive, and then it's like, oh, hey, it runs Linux. It's really vague. The wireless and stuff, I'm not even going to get into that, but whatever. So
yeah, and I look at it and I think if it was $700, maybe, because if I can load Linux Mint or Ubuntu on there, it might make a pretty good Ultrabook.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's super light, very nice screen. It's got the ports I need, although the keyboard layout's sort of custom. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah. It's definitely slim. I guess my big thing is it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. And my concern is like, what's that going to look like a few Linux releases down the road? Is that sports?
Well, they're putting some of the hardware patches, some of the support for this hardware in the Linux kernel.
Okay,
mainline.
well then that
more recent. So
it might. I know
actually,
Ubuntu does a lot of funky stuff with the kernel itself. So if they're sticking true to that, then cool.
I would bet if this thing did really well, you would see Linux support get better. I just think this thing's a bit of a non-starter.
It's a little pricey. I mean, I think you're right. I think it's the one thing. It's just,
is it okay? So it starts at $1,300, and that's before you get it with LTE, and then it goes up to $1,400. Right?
Okay, that's without LTE.
Yeah. That's without LTE,
what are you paying for?
And remember, this is a Chromebook, so everything's kind of online. So the LTE is kind of an important component.
There must be some really great specs.
Let's go shop for Macintoshes on the Linux Action Show.
Oh my goodness! All right.
So look at this. Now, I'm not saying they're the same machine, but the MacBook Air,
right? The prices kind of make you go.
is $1,000 cheaper at base, and it comes with 4 gigs of memory and 128 gigabyte flash.
And keeping in mind that some people, such as, I don't know, Linus, does install...
Linus uses the MacBook Air, right? And then if you look at the 13-inch model, then you're getting into, say that starts at 12 inches. This is the one that's, priced competitively with the Chromebook.
Right.
Now, you got to give the screen to the Chromebook.
Absolutely.
Got to give the screen. And the fact that after some time, I would almost wager there's probably going to be a better experience running Linux on the Chromebook because the MacBook Air, I think, has, binary blobs for the webcam.
They work really hard at making the compatibility a nightmare.
But I am really surprised. I mean, if you look at the OSs, Chrome OS is very limited, so you almost have to have it with that LTE chip, and at $1,300, $1,400 once you throw LTE in there.
Chrome OS is really awesome for mom or dad or grandpa or your or somebody that just is not computer savvy, whoever that may be. So just member of the family, certainly. But I think for someone like us,
chat room seems to be pretty mixed. They say Rhino says Google has no sense of focus.
Interesting point.
Steelworks says, if it's Chrome OS or not, Linux is Linux. So it shouldn't really matter.
That's fair.
HW Killer is pointing out that the Chromebook is shipping with a writable BIOS, which is actually advantageous for us. I don't know. I think it looks like most of them are saying 1,300 is just way too expensive, though. So I would say
that's my big thing is the price point, and honestly, Chrome OS, I'm just not that excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm more excited about being able to replace it, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly. It's like you're buying it for basically the core of it, so you can put something you want on there.
Matt, I just wanted to mention the Linux Action Show's live on Sundays over at jblive.tv for a video and jblive.info for audio, and that's 1 p.m. Eastern, and that is 6 p.m. UTC. If you want to join us over at 10 a.m. Pacific at jblive.tv, and you can take part in our chat room and chat with us as we go. All right, Matt, well, why don't we take a moment to thank our sponsor this week, GoDaddy.com. Look at Danica in the data center in the racing outfit.
See, she's kind of dropping the hints there that she has, in fact, invaded.
And she is. This is code. You nailed it. This is code. She's talking to us. And, Danica's been busy this week, Matt. She's doing amazing things with that race car. Not only that, while she's doing those amazing things with the race car, of course, she's also scoring us great deals. So, sure.
Nice.
Daytona 500 pole winner? Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I got a poll for you, and that is the poll with the Linux Action Show flag on it, getting you discount codes when you shop at GoDaddy.com. Use our code GO28OFF3 to save 28%.
That would be cool.
Send your signal up that poll, the Linux Action Show poll. Use our code Linux295 to get a .com for $2.95.
Nice. Like
up to
that.
3 of those things.
Wouldn't it be cool to have the Linux Action Show actually on her outfit, her racing car outfit? How awesome that would be.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
Yeah. You know what?
Just a little patch. Maybe a shoulder.
Maybe we could start a Kickstarter campaign to raise the, what is it, like $3 million to buy that
drop in the bucket. Drop in the bucket. It'll buy a little patch or, drop
worth
in the bucket.
It.
Totally worth it.
So anyways, if you want to support the show, you can visit the links to our sponsors in the show notes. Let them know that you're paying attention, and also use our codes GO28OFF3 when you're checking out to save 28% off anything. Renewals, hosting, whatever you want to get, or Linux295 to get a .com for $2.95. Limited time on both of those. I think the $2.95 is finally going to expire at the end of February, which is now.
That sounds about right.
So if you're watching this, you need to use it right now, because probably by the time we do the next show, it'll be expired. All right, good. Matt. Now, I have a little confession to make.
Okay.
Did not get a chance. Now, typically, I try to use all of the Android picks for an extended period of time before I talk about them.
Makes sense.
Because I have loaded an Android app that I was going to make the pick, and it turned out to be malware. And it just loaded my machine up. People have heard me complain about this. And that just reaffirmed my commitment to only talking about apps that I've tested myself.
Right.
Not doing that this week.
Good plan.
I loaded on my 2 Android devices that I use now. My other ones are so old. Both are running Ubuntu right now.
So they're kind of taken.
I couldn't actually run the Android app pick this week. However, this pick was a recommendation from a longtime viewer. He's a little behind on the back catalog right now, so by the time he hears this pick, he'll probably have forgotten and be a little surprised. But it's called, I'm going to say Zabber.
I'd say, yeah, that sounds right.
Xabber.
Zabber?
And it's, as you might have guessed by the name, an open source Jabber client with multi-account support.
Nice.
It features multiple accounts. You can do syncing between the accounts. It also, this is the one I like a lot, is pre-configured for Gtalk, Facebook Chat, all the ones that you might typically use, the popular XMPP type services. And here's the other thing I like. It has a built-in support for SSL and off-the-record chatting.
Very important for privacy, that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've been trying to come up with a good app that supports like backgrounding, supports all of my Android devices, does off-the-record messaging. Now, I'm not like, making some big secret deal or something over chat. I like the idea of knowing I have that security and option if I want.
Sense.
Maybe I want to have a dirty chat with my wife.
Right. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm just saying. So anyways, check it out. It's Xabber. It is a free Android app, and the UI looks actually pretty great. It's got like the quick online icon status to tell you when somebody's online. It'll group each account into their own sections, or you can just have all of your friends in one consolidated list, which is very nice. The chat screen's good. It supports different icons in there. I actually think it also will load people's avatar from the instant messaging service.
And apparently, and if I'm misinterpreting this, correct me, but it looks like that you're able to actually carry on conversations with such folks as Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really exciting.
Yeah, when you install it, Jimmy Wales, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Ballmer, Richard Stallman. Of course, Stallman's using Android, and this Steve Jobs. Don't know exactly. I bet if we scroll down the list, we'd see Tupac Shakur on there too.
Yeah, sure. You just gotta scroll. You just gotta scroll down. He's too cool to be in that top list.
Yeah. So,
No,
anyways, I just wanted to mention that it looks like really good when I load one of my devices. I probably won't load both of them back. Stay tuned for more on that. But when I put one of them back, I'll be loading that up. I've been using IM Plus for a long time, and I think I'm going to switch to this.
Makes sense.
All right, Matt.
Cool.
Desktop app pick time.
Oh yeah.
Now, we've been talking a lot about video games out here on the show, and there's some really great stuff that's coming to Steam even this day. I've got some great information about Linux games on Steam coming up in the news segment. I wanted to talk about an open source, totally free game.
Okay, I like that.
You know,
free.
We've been doing a lot of commercial stuff
Good,
recently.
good.
It's called Unvanquished, and now I'm just going to elephant in the room. I believe this is based on the Quake 3 engine, although it looks great.
If the gameplay is good, I'm good with it.
Unvanquished is a free open-source first-person shooter combining real-time strategy elements with a futuristic sci-fi setting. It's available for Windows, Linux, and the Mac. It features 2 teams that you can play as either a technologically advanced humans or the highly adaptable aliens, which can include like a spider-like creature you run around on the ground and stuff.
Right.
You can level up your gear, and you can earn rewards and customize your gear and things like that. And it supports automatic map downloading. So I just thought we'd give a little quick demo of Unvanquished. So here, I'll load it up, and it's a little zoomed and cropped, but you'll just have to forgive that, everybody.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So here it is. This is the Unvanquished, and I don't have the sound on for you audio listeners just because I didn't hook it up. But when you start up, you can see that it's not super active.
It doesn't look like there's a ton of servers,
This
but
actually,
they,
this might be something for the JBGame.TV community.
yeah, it looks
to
like
jump
a
in
good
on.
LAN situation.
Because you can build your own, or you can jump in. And one of the things that's nice about this game, though, is they'll vet game servers as like official game servers, and then they'll say this is one So like so you can't really see it in the shot, but there's like little stars off on the left hand column that tell you if these are like officially safe. And they have little badges if they're featured.
Oh, and one of them looks like it's got a decent ping time, so it's not too far away.
Yeah, and like that top one there, you can sort by ping, of course. And the other thing you see right here is there's players plus bots. So the game will populate the worlds with bots. So even if you just want to get on there, like this testing server has 28 bots on there, or 12 bots on there.
Right.
So we'll just go, this is probably a bad idea to try the development server on the live stream, but we'll try it.
What the heck, right? We live dangerously.
So this is not exactly the system I went into isn't your normal game. This is like a build and set up equipment and test stuff out.
Okay.
So you can see I can choose if I want to be an alien, a human, or auto select, but I'm going to go human just so that way it's a little more first-person shooter. Because when you do alien, sometimes you're down on the ground.
Yeah, you're kind of crawling around like a little animal.
And see, I can choose a rifle if I'm going to be one of the people that keep the bots at bay while people build stuff, or I can be a constructor. Just for fun, I'm going to be a shooter. So now here I am. And see, here's somebody just killed a little bot here, but you can see it's not like the best graphics in the world. You can see a little Quake 3-ness to it.
Yeah, it's got
that sort of quick feel
the
to it.
maps look good.
Yeah, it does. And also, I'm not going to complain about a futuristic sci-fi setting where I can build stuff and shoot aliens.
Totally. Yeah.
So I mean, there's somebody up in the corner there.
I'm not sure.
See, there's one of the spiders there. So so he was waiting for the spider, and he's got a flamethrower.
He was baiting it.
That spider has a lightning ability too, apparently.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's very fast. Obviously, I just died very quickly, but gives you an idea. It's called Unvanquished, and I just loaded it up on Saturday just to kind of relieve some stress, just to kill a few things, and I really liked it. And heck, it's open source. It can be a little tricky on how you download it. If you go to the download for Linux section.
Well, it looks like they got Arch packages.
They do.
Ubuntu packages.
The Arch packages are actually just right here, and
nice.
And they also have a little repo you can add. It's not a PPA. You still kind of have to do old style. You go open up your sources file.
Right.
Then you add their key. But then once you've done that, you apt-get install it. It will install, and you can opt, if you don't want to add the repo, you can opt to go download the packages yourself, but there's a lot of packages you have to download, and their installer includes a script that pulls down like the texture packs and stuff like that.
Okay, that's
So I would
cool.
recommend you use their package, and they have
Sounds
a
like
generic
it'd be easier.
tarball if you're not on Arch or Ubuntu or a Debian. They support,
Sweet.
they have packages for Debian, Ubuntu, Arch, Windows, the Mac, and then they have a tarball for other distros. So anyways, Unvanquished, you can find it at unvanquished.net and a link in the show notes.
I like it.
And that is our desktop pick for this week. A little open source game.
Good stuff.
But seriously, if I could just make a secondary pick, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Let's see what else we got.
So a new game came out for Steam this week, and it's one that a lot of people have been talking a lot about. We just missed the opportunity to really promote it because they just wrapped up a big sale they had on Saturday.
Right.
They had like a 60% off sale. But let me see if I can find it here. It's brand new. It's probably in their top seller. There's been a few new games. By the way, The Cave that we talked about last week made it. Here we go. It's called Guns of Icarus Online.
Cool.
And this looks so, I haven't played it yet, but I've heard so many people raving about it online. It's got big futuristic blimps that you shoot at each other with. There's running and jumping type gameplay. Like here, that was a blimp gunship.
Oh, okay.
Look, so he's flying a blimp gunship right there.
Can we full screen this at all? Or
Let me
looks
see.
Like you got
Let's see what we got.
There
we go. Yeah, nice. So that to me, see, there he is again. Look at those blimp gunships there, right?
Oh, now we're talking.
Now, we just missed the sale, so I didn't make this my pick because otherwise it's like $26 if you pay full price. But
honestly, I think I would play that for $26.
For you audio listeners, picture a steampunk world that takes place in these steampunky blimps that fly around shooting at each other with classic machine gun type cannon
and it's like if you were to take Blackbeard the pirate and give him like AK-47s and various turrety action guns. I mean, this is kind of what it's like. I mean, it's like space pirates, but with less space and more pirates.
So maybe consider this a bonus pick because I didn't make this the official pick, but I just
sweet.
So it's Guns of Icarus Online, and you can find that now. It just came to Steam for Linux. Also, the caves there, although some people are hating on it a little bit.
They're not cave people.
Yeah, it is a little tedious because you have to play 3 different characters and sometimes you have to move them all around.
Yeah, I could see that being a little overwhelming, but the other game makes up for it.
Yeah. So. All right, one last big piece of Linux news that we're happy about before we jump into the main news segment. I just want to remind folks that the Linux Fest Northwest 2003 is coming up on April 27th and 28th.
Yep.
Matt and I are going to be there with bells on. We're talking about setting up a booth.
Yes.
And because Matt and I will be at a booth, see, I originally was thinking I didn't want to do a booth. I wanted to get out there and talk to people and really experience the fest. But at the same time, if we could set up something where maybe people came down, chatted with us, we could stream that all day long. People could tune in on the 27th on the jblive.tv stream, and we'd just be interviewing people that are involved with open source and Linux all day long. And we could cut that down and make a show out of that. And I was like, okay, I can't pass that up. That's just going to be too great. So what I was thinking we could do, since you and I won't be on the floor as much, is if you were going to make it to Linux Fest Northwest, I would love to deputize you and perhaps equip you with a little handy cam, and you could go out and get footage of things that you think are awesome, or maybe chat with people that you think are great, and then you could come back to us at the live stream booth, and we could load that up on our live stream computer and play it right there on the stream, and then you and I could go take a pee while we play that and come back. And so we would love to deputize you, and if you'd love to do it, it's nothing, no big pressure. You just take a camera, and if something cool comes up, you just shoot it and then bring it back to us. And that'll be April 27th at the Linux Fest Northwest. Go to linuxfestnorthwest.org to find out where it's at, find out more information about who's speaking, and all that
it'll
stuff.
tell you, it's in Bellingham, Washington. It's going to give you directions on where to stay and what to, all that stuff.
Beautiful area up there, and I'm sure we'll probably go out with folks and grab a bite to eat and things like that. We've been going for forever.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I've been going since 2003, 2, something like that.
Yeah, I've been going for a very, very long time, and I think it's gotten better every single year. Last year was great. This year it's going to be even bigger. They've got new areas they're opening up. It's going to look really great.
Big stuff.
And it's really the only time that we get to get out of the studio.
Yeah, it is.
And it's nice that it's in our backyard. So
we actually have little capsules that we're kept in. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that way we don't age, so we can just keep doing the show forever. That's why my hair is always the same every episode. All right, Matt. Well, let's do the news.
The news, and it is brought to you by
Loot Crate. LootCrate.com/Linux. Get yourself a box of Epic Geek and Gamer swag every single month. New shipment begins on the 20th of March, so if you use our code Linux when you're checking out, you can save some money on that and get yourself some Epic Gamer and Gamer swag. Now, we're going to do our giveaway at the end of the show during the feedback segment, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna cover people's Doctor Who themed desktops and give away a Loot Crate subscription.
And I think we have one more crate we're going to pop open as well.
Nice.
I believe so. Yep. So we'll check that out.
All right. So I want our top story this week not to represent the fact that there was swearing and bad words involved. That's not why I picked it.
Sure. I believe you.
Longtime viewers of this show know that I have a lot of respect for Linus, and I actually think the way Linus approaches these problems in these very rambunctious email threads is actually productive to moving the conversation forward. I know a lot of people disagree with how Linus handles some of these things, but I actually think if you look at the history of Linux, a lot of times we've done these outbursts, they've actually moved things in a beneficial direction. So that being said, this week Linus blew up on the mailing list.
He's a whirlwind of fists and elbows.
Yeah, and this one's a little hard for some folks to follow. So here it goes. So somebody emails in a patch. His name is David Howells, and he sends in a pull request, and he says, can we get this going? This is to allow new modules to be added that are signed without having to restart, right?
Sure. Sounds reasonable.
Linus responds with, not without a lot more discussion first, quite frankly, this is effing moronic. The whole thing seems to be designed around stupid interfaces for completely moronic reasons. Why should we do this? I already disliked your existing X.509 parser. This makes the idiotic complicated interface. All right, so he kind of gets a little upset right there. And then Matthew Garrett, who was doing the keynote presentation at Scale yesterday.
Okay.
Long-time Linux contributors, worked with Red Hat, works with a lot of, and works, I believe, with Nebulous now. Was a key member in getting secure boot for Linux off the ground and working with the industry.
Oh, so he's big.
He wrote the shim that Fedora uses and that Ubuntu is going to be leveraging. So he's obviously very integral to this entire secure boot process. So Matthew Garrett writes in, he says, in responding to Linus' comment about being moronic, he says, frankly, Linus, there's only one signing authority, and they're the ones that sign PE binaries.
Yeah.
Now, this signing authority is Microsoft, and this makes Linus blow up. He says, guys, this is not a fellatio sucking contest. I don't want to use the word. This is not a fellatio contest, guys, because we have kids watching. If you want the binaries, go ahead. He says, this is your issues and Microsoft's issues. So here's an explanation of what's going on, because I think we start to lose people, but Linus seems to be very upset that we want to have these binaries added to the kernel that only can be signed by Microsoft. And NetArmor on Reddit posted a very good response to this, so I just wanted to read it right here. It says, what Linus is arguing is that it is pointless and stupid for the Linux kernel developers to put a huge amount of rather nasty code into the kernel in order to accept the way Microsoft signs kernel driver binaries. Okay. UEFI with secure boot allows both users and hardware makers to lock down the machine in different ways via the bootloader. The firmware can be made only to accept cryptographically signed bootloaders. The bootloaders can be made then to only accept signed kernels. So the bootloader will only accept a signed kernel. The signed kernel can be made to only accept signed modules, which can only include drivers for the hardware. So remember, this is what Fedora is doing. They're doing a signed kernel, and they'll only allow signed drivers. That makes sense. If something's going to talk to the kernel, you want it to be signed. That way you're secure from top to bottom.
Understandable.
So this patch that this guy wants is designed to make it so that the kernel can make and it can take Microsoft signed modules.
Oh, yes.
Without having to reboot too, I might add. The way Microsoft has set things up is they will only sign modules that conform to the format used by embedded Windows.
Oh.
So the kernel with these patches will be able to take that Windows format, check it, convert it to a format the kernel can use, and then load it. Linus contends that this is stupid and pointless because the kernel already has proper support for signed modules. If people want to use signed kernel modules, they can use that and skip the whole Microsoft BS.
Right. Worded with a little more detail, such as they've done here, I think that makes sense. I think there's a lot of logic to that because it does ensure that we're not, in fact, duplicating an already existing effort and duplicating in a way that is basically catering to Microsoft's nonsense.
And also, Linus contends it's inferior to the one we have now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not only a duplication, but it's craptastic. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So here's the counter argument. The counter argument exists. The counter argument is that nobody but Microsoft is willing to maintain a certificate authority, and that Microsoft keys are already used and in the hardware chips already. So we're already trusting the Microsoft keys at a hardware level. So you have only Microsoft willing to maintain a certificate authority. You have Microsoft working with the hardware vendors. They already have their key in there, and they're already signing their stuff for the Windows operating system. This commenter goes on to say, if you wanted to use the X.509 signing system that's already in the certificate system that's already in the kernel, like SSL certs, the Linux kernels that the Linux kernel already supports, you'd have to have an organization set up to manage those certificates, get their public key embedded in the kernel so that people can use it. See, the problem is that Linus fundamentally believes the kernel signing already exists and that there's already a way to do this. And it's one of these things where you have, again, users on one side. As a user, I want to be able to grab a piece of hardware, update a kernel module, and not have to reboot my server or my desktop or my laptop or my tablet. And when you're talking secure boot, you're really more talking embedded devices, ARM system on a chips.
Right. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Linus on this.
Maybe some of the new Windows 8 systems, those using secure boot like this. But at the same time, it's like at the same time, I feel like I agree with Linus too, because Linux is no longer this little cheeky upstart that, we have to bend to every whim of the hardware industry in order to hopefully get adoption. Linux is owning the market right now.
That's right.
And we have leverage at this point, just like Apple had leverage on pushing Flash off of mobile.
Yep.
We have leverage in the mobile space to do things the right way. And the Microsoft method is just simply not the right way. And I realize it's not ACPI all over again, but it just smacks of that in so many ways.
Well, it's too much centralized control. The last thing, let's look at their history with Linux too. You really got to stop and look back a couple of years and think, okay, first of all, Microsoft, or rather Ballmer says, I don't want to badmouth the entire company because of one guy. Ballmer points out, well, Linux is communism and socialism and all this other horrible stuff.
And a cancer.
It's a cancer, and it's this horrible mindset of it just takes and takes and takes and all this other stuff, and they want a free ride and all this stuff. Then suddenly later on, they start kind of easing into, well, we're gonna work with Linux a little bit more than we used to, and so on and forth. And then, of course, today they're actually contributing to the kernel, and all of a sudden they're all involved. Think about that real hard for a minute. Why do you think they're doing that? Because they're our buddies? No, because they want to get up in there, and little prostate action.
They just realize the way the market pressures are making them act, and they're responding accordingly.
To be your buddy and to get involved. I think avoiding them as much as possible. They can participate if they want to, but giving them full control is a dangerous thing.
Yeah, they essentially would have control over what modules could make it into the kernel. Now this is making this whole secure boot and UEFI issue very murky. And remember, this is not UEFI. UEFI is a separate thing. This is secure boot, which is working with UEFI. And Matthew Garrett, who just gave the keynote at Scale, he's very proud of this. He said, over the last 12 months, technical and political discussions gradually led to a much better scenario where Linux could not only be assured that running Linux would still be possible, but one where Secure Boot could even be used to enhance the security of Linux systems. Matthew Garrett argues that if we leverage Secure Boot properly, we could have signed kernels, we could have signed bootloaders, signed kernel modules, we could actually be better off. I just don't see the demand for this, and we've witnessed time and time again where this ends up hampering the users more than it helps benefiting them. And I maybe in a world where I have an Ubuntu phone and it's my desktop and my mobile device at one, and so I have so much important information on there that if somebody was able to grab it, I would want it to be secure. But at the same time, I feel like we're trying to solve a problem that doesn't really exist.
I don't have a problem with a secure boot situation as long as it's set up in a foundation environment to where it's multiple companies, multiple community members actually participating in making this happen. What I don't want is a single company controlling that, whether it be Microsoft or anyone else.
The way Matthew explains it is that Microsoft's the only one willing to step up and take the responsibility on.
Then we're not ready for it.
And I think it's not necessary. Yes. Then that means it's not ready.
Yeah, that's my philosophy.
You know what? Right there, you nailed it.
I mean, it's just saying.
No, you nailed it. All right, so let's move on to the next story. This one just hit the subreddit this morning over at linuxactionshow.reddit.com. SUSE Linux says that ButterFS is ready to rock. I thought, since we're still kind of at the kernel level, we'll cover another kernel story here. Now SUSE has been one of the major efforts behind ButterFS, and it's been included in the main kernel since 2.6.29.
Nice.
Now Matthias, I think Ickerman is the senior product manager at SUSE Enterprise Linux. He says the ButterFS is ready for production systems, and as of SUSE Linux Enterprise 11 Service Pack 2, ButterFS is officially supported, along of course with Extended 3, RiserFS, XFS, and OCFS 2. I don't see Extended 4 on that list. SUSE Linux is a major ButterFS contributor, and Mr. Eckerman explains that development strategy is threefold. And this is kind of important for, I think, the ensuing conversation we're going to have. First priority is stability, then functionality, and then performance. Patches are rigorously tested, and only those that meet SUSE standards are accepted. SUSE Enterprise Linux uses the 3.0.10 kernel with backports and patches. SUSE does not yet support all ButterFS functionality. For example, multi-volume handling and RAID and compression are not yet supported, but they will be.
And that probably falls back to they want to make sure the stability's there before they get into this other stuff. Okay.
SUSE's nice ButterFS snapshot monitor tool is called Snapper, and SUSE even provides a pre-built Snapper binaries for CentOS, Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, and Red Hat. I want to talk about something that I've noticed that I surprised I actually haven't brought up on the Linux Action Show.
Okay.
So in TechSnap, Alan is a FreeBSD user. Scale Engine runs on FreeBSD. And we talk a lot about FreeBSD and storage because it's TechSnap is our Systems Network and Administration podcast. Right. And every week, Matt, we have viewers of the Linux Action Show who work out in the industry who are emailing us, asking us questions about migrating to FreeBSD and ZFS. And I'm saying maybe we have 5 or 6 a week, people emailing us, and it's been like this for months. And I talk to clients who have on-site IT guys, and they want to deploy new file servers, and they're asking me about FreeBSD or ZFS on Linux. So this is something that I think the Linux fanboys, and I'm including myself in this, are not really talking about a lot, but we're actually seeing a lot of longtime Linux server guys defect to FreeBSD because ZFS is in fact superior to anything we have on Linux, and a lot of people are just not totally comfortable with the solutions to run ZFS on Linux, like the user space stuff, or even the kernel-based
They feel
stuff.
it's a little hodgepodge, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where my big data, quote unquote, experience comes from a bank, where stability was sort of the paramount matter at hand.
With
So
security probably rolling right next to it.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you know, something like when a file system like ButterFS came out, or actually back in the day it was Extended 3.
Sure.
You know, when they say it's stable, what that means to me as a system admin is that means it's now stable enough that a lot of the lemmings are going to go out there and use it and break it for me, and then in a year or two I will start using it.
Exactly.
The problem is with that, and I contend that I think a lot of big enterprise shops work that way. You never deploy a file system that's quote unquote 1.0. You just never. I mean, unless like okay, I'm running ButterFS on my laptop right now,
And that's fine. It's non-critical.
yeah, and I'm just doing it on. I did it on the wrong. I'm doing it on my home. I should have done it on a different. But anyways, just to try it.
Right.
But on my main file server, I'm actually running ZFS. Okay, and I think a lot of people are. So I think what SUSE Linux is trying to do here is they're recognizing, remember, they're putting this in their enterprise distro. I think they're recognizing this defection. They're recognizing their customers need rope. I mean, ZFS is just incredible. It is incredible. Right. And I mean, it really is getting people to migrate. And I think they see this, and I think they're trying to say, all right, we're making this 1.0 now to get it out in the hands of people, to get early adopters using it, and then we've already been early adopters using it, and, you know, make it better and better. And their approach here for building ButterFS is exactly how you want somebody to handle the approach of building a file system. Stability first,
right?
Functionality, performance.
And then rapid development so that you can get to a 2.0 and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, this is a huge competitive hole for Linux, which is funny because Linux has been the server operating system of choice for a very long time. So it's good to see this moving forward. I actually don't think it's going to stop the bleeding for a little while, though.
No, I think that they're going to have some catching up to do, and I think that they're going to have a big, lengthy conversation with existing BSD folks, the folks that have defected, to get them back. You're going to have to woo them with some pretty good, sweet stuff.
Yeah, and the problem is ZFS isn't standing still during this time either. It's moving forward.
So they may have a problem.
Yeah,
you know, could happen.
And if anybody out there has a really, you know, a lot of valuable data, you know, and I'm talking, if you're not dealing with more than 5 terabytes or so, I'm not talking to you. If you have a lot of valuable data and you're using ZFS on Linux, Ubuntu or CentOS or something like that, I'd love to hear from you. Email the show, linuxactionshow@jupiterbroadcasting.com, or even better, start a thread in the subreddit. I'd love to hear how your experience has been, because I've been too nervous to put anything in production. So
what you've noticed is working, what scares the hell out of you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And again, I just comes from, you know, the old days where I had suffered some data loss and things like that. So I'm a little more gun shy. All right.
Okay.
Big upset this week from the KDE camp. Lots of headlines around this one. Sony pirating KDE artwork. Sony, the company who created audio CDs that installed rootkits on Windows computers to stop copying music, and is pirating KDE artwork. Primarily the one that was noticed is the preferences-system.png icon from the Oxygen theme, which is GPL'd. But apparently there's also some other icons that they grabbed. And they have this up on their VAIO website. And I also believe that if you boot into one of the VAIO's BIOS, you'll find another KDE icon in there.
And they're not abiding by the GPL on
right.
at all. Right. Okay.
Funny enough, if you go to see maybe if they posted the GPL for these icons on their website,
that's all they have to do.
One of the disclaimers, here are the disclaimers on Sony's website. Any unauthorized use or copyright of site content or use of site content which breaches these terms or their spirit may violate trademark, copyright, and proprietary rights and have civil or criminal consequences. It also goes on to say, and by the way, this post is breaking this right now, you must seek and obtain written consent from the operator of the site before creating any links to this site. They want written consent before you link to their website.
And this is just how out of touch. This is what happens when lawyers try and create web stuff.
Yeah.
So
this has stirred up a lot. I mean, some people are saying, so what? 2 icons. Some people
it's the principle.
Yes,
of it.
exactly.
It's totally the principle of it.
And people want to go after Sony because Sony has gone after their customers.
Sure.
So yeah, I kind of just
it's just how out of touch Sony has become. And then of course all the stuff with the new PS4 and all this stuff going on, they're just really losing their influence, and they're turning into this bitter, angry old man with a cane shaking it at clouds.
I want my Walkman back.
Yeah.
Those were the good times.
Oh yeah, I loved it when the batteries ran out, right? And it was like everything got all slowed down. See, kids today don't enjoy this stuff. Man.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, it would start to slow down. It would start to slowly slow down at first.
Hell, I dropped mine in a toilet and I was able to air dry it and it still worked.
That's hardcore.
Show me an MP3 player does that, folks.
So I want to talk a little Steam. We got a chance. Somebody pulled the curtain back, Matt, and a Steam Linux dev came to the Linux gaming subreddit and asked what stats people wanted to know about. He's the author, the lead developer of Defender's Quest, which is apparently a very popular game. I have not got a chance to play it. And he was answering a few questions. Check this out. So the first question, right out of the bat, they want to know about sales numbers on Linux. He responds, our sales spiked at the Linux launch because there was a sale associated with all Linux-compatible titles.
Okay.
The majority of the purchases were from Windows users, of course, just grabbing something on sale.
Right.
But we saw 2 to 3 as many Linux users as Mac users during that same period. Looking back at our direct sales and our lifetime downloads, the downloads of Linux are twice of that for Mac. So then somebody posts a follow-up question. He's saying, are you really saying you have more Linux users than Mac users? Whoa. And he says, yes, I can confirm that. Yeah. So the game
Mac
is seeing,
people.
yeah,
Boom.
right? Now here's what's interesting. So you know how Steam releases these stats of how many people are on which platform? We got a little insight from the developer on how Steam actually calculates that. Steam calculates the platform stats based off the original platform of purchase or after owned for 7 days, which platform has the most minutes of gameplay logged. Which is interesting because I've been purchasing a lot of the games from the Steam website, and I've been like on different computers at different times because I knew they were coming to Linux, and I just wanted them available as soon as they hit. So I haven't been, not all of my purchases have counted, the majority, but not all have counted as Linux. There are a lot of stuff in this thread. I think there was maybe, oh yeah, here it is. So he says, a commenter says, I have to thank you for going the extra mile for Linux. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
My question would be this, though. Has it paid off? Because the developers spent a little extra time getting the Linux port working. He responds, the developer, it has paid off thanks to the Steam Linux sale. To be clear, the fact we are on Linux has paid off more so than the pure Linux revenue covering the costs. He goes on to explain a little bit. Being on Linux gave us a slot in the Steam Linux launch, making us one of the very few titles available in that initial sale, which means we got a lot of attention. Not as big as a daily deal or anything, but it was really nice. Also, being on Linux makes us eligible for the Humble Indie bundle should they ever notice us. That's a really big incentive. He says there's a lot of pent-up demand, and even if the overall market is smaller, practically nobody is serving it right now, so it's a natural place for us to go. This is exactly what we speculated on the show.
That's awesome. That's good
and
to
it's
see.
interesting, too, that just making a port to Linux makes you a candidate for the Humble Indie, makes it possible for you to be on the Humble Indie bundle. That, he says, they've been trying to contact them every single month to be a member of the bundle. That's how important that is to them. So that's a big incentive to get on Linux right there. I have this guy answered.
Wow, he really went to town.
I mean, every time you see a blue.
The dark blue, yeah.
The dark blue, that's him answering. I mean, he probably answered 70, 80 questions in here.
Jeez.
So we'll link to that if you guys are curious. He talks about video drivers. He talks about what Steam has him NDA, which are,
right, yeah, stuff you can't.
Stuff you probably, like the percentage of sales and stuff like that. All right, Matt, well, we're going to talk a lot about some touch stuff this episode. Yeah. So I thought before we gave a lot of attention to the Ubuntu side of things, let's just take a quick look at Plasma Active on the Nexus 7. So we've demonstrated Plasma Active before on the show on the little Vivaldi type tablet they were going with at one point. Here it is on the Nexus 7. Now this is a completely alternative option to Android or Ubuntu Touch or anything like that, and it's looking pretty great. They're using the native resolution of the Nexus 7 now, which is really awesome. They've got 3D hardware acceleration, so the entire Plasma Active GUI is now accelerated, which is great. They have hardware acceleration for video playback, which is really cool, and they've got a built-in emulator for console games like the SNES.
I gotta tell you, that's looking pretty hot.
Yeah. And they right out of the gate, a nice touchable windowed interface. It's it's got some polish that it needs still, and all of the apps aren't touch ready. Yeah, but
that's the biggest thing with all these efforts that I see happening is that you need to get the applications to a point to where they are in fact visible.
Last Linux Fest attended a talk by Aaron. And Aaron Saigo, and he gave a lot of the background on the app store they're building for this. Right. And what's really cool about their app store is you could have your own app store. And then you could plug it into the app store on the device. So we could have a Jupiter Broadcasting app store that had Plasma Active apps, and it would be like a source you add to like a repository manager.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they have some really interesting ideas on how like they're going to democratize the mobile platform. It's not going to be owned by any particular company, and that's
be a good
really,
thing.
Yeah, that's what's really compelling about what they want to do about that. So, anyways, Nexus 7 is just once again proven to be the device of choice to try this stuff out. This is very interesting. Last story, and it ties in with our Ubuntu Touch stuff, so it's a great chance to cover this before we get into that. Canonical demoed powerful voice recognition for Ubuntu this week, and I saw this. There's some voice stuff in the Touch. And I thought, where did they pull voice recognition out of? Like, what are they doing? So right now it's closed, but they're going to be releasing the code. It's going to allow you to do basic commands, kind of like the HUD does. I think it ties into the HUD. It must. It lets you launch and close applications. You can open websites using voice commands. You can perform basic file management. You can dictate. You can answer questions. You can send emails, set reminders.
Now, I wonder how that compares to some of the existing less exciting open source options that are available now.
Well, so this is not going to be fully open source. What they're doing is you press a key and then you speak, and there's OMG Ubuntu has a video demonstration of it here.
Right.
The voice stuff is recorded and then it's sent off to Google using the Google voice recognition backend.
Okay.
So the benefits of that are the Google voice recognition system is extremely powerful.
It actually works.
You know, it's being used by Google Voice Search, it's being used by tons of mobile devices, and it's used by Google Voice itself. It's also very fast and very reliable.
That would be nice because the existing options
and the way that sound packets are recorded, it's very cool. It records and encodes and transmits in real time. So just when you start speaking, the Google server is already processing and getting ready to deliver an answer. The downside, obvious privacy implications with sending commands to Google, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Also, not a complete open source solution top to bottom. It would be really cool maybe if they open source all the bits to interface with this so then anybody could use this system.
And I think that's probably what's going to end up happening because what stopped this sort of thing from becoming purely open source up until now is the fact that it's so expensive. Someone's got to spend tremendous amounts of time and resources.
I mean, there are other great open source voice recognition, some that they claim to be better than Google Voice.
I've used a lot of them.
Yeah, me too.
And
they're not so good.
Well, some of them have great recognition, but then the UI falls on its face or the back end, the other aspects.
And here's where they're not going to. Here's where the thing that Canonical wants to do is they want to tie this in with all the different aspects of the apps they're going to be writing for the platform. So they got to have something that's designed to do that for them because that's their primary goal.
And probably something that the development's not going to stop midway, like I've seen with 2 or 3 other alternatives.
Maybe
that's a big one.
And you know, every mobile device like Siri and Google Now and all that, they're all transmitting to cloud.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't like it, don't use it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you can always turn it off. I'd be curious to see how it works. It's nice. I got to admit, I use the dictation, and the way it works in Android is very nice. It's done so well, as long as it's quiet room. I've been impressed with it. So it's a compelling feature they're going to add, and when you talk about mobile, it makes a lot more sense.
Oh, I think so. Well, and I think one thing people tend to forget about is a lot of people, when they go off on the privacy tangents, grab any random person off the street and ask them what their feelings are about sending data to the cloud. 99.99999% of them don't care.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, while we might care, and I care, and Chris cares, but they don't. So if that's what they're targeting, this is going to work for them. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that boat sailed a long time ago when we started getting grocery cards and stuff like that for discounts.
Privacy was so 1990s. That stuff's dead.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. All right, Matt, this is something that I've been looking forward to since the big announcement, since we had that big countdown. And we didn't know until just recently we would also be getting images for tablets. And so nice. it was exciting to be able to have both the phone experience and the tablet experience here. Now, just a quick mention of our segment sponsor before we get any further is System76.com. System76 is a great company that builds systems born to run Linux. And of course, they're out there as a member of the Linux community. They're at Scale this week.
Yeah.
There's them at their booth. They got some of their machines lined up out there for people to come out and try them out. And
I believe like Leopard Extreme, got some of the laptops.
Got my Bonobo there, got the Sable.
There it is. Yep.
And I believe that's Emma there in the booth. Yep. So she's there, and people are stopping by. And I love this. If you follow System76 on Google+, they were doing a Team Fortress 2 tournament at their booth.
Love that. How awesome is that? It's like, yes. That's awesome.
Really cool.
What a great way to get them.
So if you're in the market for a system to run Linux and you want sort of the out-of-box, no-hassle experience, go check out System 76.
Exactly.
That's
you know
why
it's going to work over and over.
You know, I want to sit down every Sunday morning and I want to be able to do a show. I don't want to troubleshoot video drivers. I don't want to do any of that. I want to be able to launch a game and know it's going to work great.
Not have a patch hose everything.
Oh, dude.
You know, something like that.
I love my Bonobo Extreme. Love System 76. I've been a customer of theirs since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So you got to check them out. All right.
Good stuff.
Let's talk about Ubuntu Touch. Now, we've got
Yes.
this, if you're watching the video version, this is a great episode to watch the video version because we're going to be demonstrating the UI. We've got this clunky little webcam right here that will be our gadget cam. And Matt, why don't we start, because I think it's probably the one to see the best. We'll start with sort of an overall overview of the UI, kind of talk a little bit about that, and then we'll go under the hood, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so here you go, Matt. Grab that. That's the Nexus 7 there, and you can see here we have, just like you've probably seen in the video demos, everything's swipe-based. What's interesting, what they do is this is also the lock screen, but there's no lock.
Right.
Right, because you can't do anything
Yeah, I'm
just
not
by
going to,
touching it.
like me,
Right.
other than getting fingerprints on it, nothing's happening.
And one of the things you'll notice right away is this 14 tweets received. That's just a placeholder.
Oh, that's not real.
No,
Okay.
the vast, and it's also a little off-center on the Nexus 7 build, but if you see here on the Galaxy Nexus build, it's
Oh,
actually
I see.
in-center,
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the clock is wrong because it's set to London time, but I'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay.
So you'll see, to unlock it essentially, or to start using it, you swipe from the side, and that brings out the dock. And then you choose what you want. Now, if we go down here to the dash, or what they're calling the home, you get your most frequently used apps, you get your favorite people that you contact with, people you're recently in touch with, your recent music, all this kind of stuff. All of this is placeholder right now.
Oh, so this is basically all for show because it's a developer preview. Okay.
So for example, if I tap Gmail, it launches their web. It launches the web Gmail client, and this browser is a custom browser from Canonical. I believe it's WebKit based, and as you can kind of see, just using Gmail here, it's not rendering the Gmail interface properly.
Right.
It's not. It's not fully up to speed yet.
It's not bad though. I mean, just starting out, it's not half bad.
It's getting there, and since it's WebKit, I am sure they'll work things out.
Undoubtedly.
Now, could you tell me from this screen how you would enter a new URL?
I have no idea. I guess you would pull down, maybe.
No,
Yeah.
see that's your messages.
That would be my. Okay,
Yep.
so that's confusing.
It's down here at the bottom. You swipe.
You pull
swipe
up.
and kind of see if I can get it. You swipe up to get the. See, it's a little tricky.
Yeah, so it's still
this is sort of the refinement that needs to happen
Right.
still. Now I can always go up here and.
Oh,
grab
now we have a
this,
little thing at up here.
and
in the
now
center
I
of the
can do
screen.
new
Yeah.
tab. I can go to. I can do forward.
That's
back.
going to need some massaging for sure. Yeah.
But there is a way if you type it just right, and see, I can also close it by hitting that X. Now there's the camera app, so I can swipe between apps by just swiping the side here. So I'm multitasking by hitting the right side and just swiping between the different applications. All the settings menus are very interesting. If I pull down here at the top, here's my integrated messages. So these are theoretically these are text messages, these are Skype calls, these are Facebook posts, these are everything, email. If I go up towards the top, you see the little indicators. See up the top there, the little indicators drop down.
Yeah,
see if I slide down. If I come up, now I can switch between the different categories. As if I come up to this break right here. Now,
see, that's
I've switched to wireless.
they're going to have to adjust some of this stuff because there's no way.
The sensitivity it's a little hit and miss sometimes.
Well, and even just remembering when this stuff is at, it's
I agree. Although once I started to learn it, it wasn't too bad. Like here's I can adjust brightness and
I mean, my first initial impression, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous.
It's an interesting.
The interface is got a ways off.
My wife during the faux show pre-show used it, and she said it reminded her of, even though she doesn't really use Windows 8, she thought it reminded her of Windows 8 because she felt like there's UI elements.
The titling, yeah.
She felt like there's UI elements off to the side, and there's UI so here you can see here's apps here. So I'm switching between lenses, videos. I can go to home screen. I can go to people. I can go to music. So there's individual lenses there.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's like it's gorgeous to look at, but it definitely I'm with her on that. I think.
And there's a lot of nice UI touches that are very sort of aesthetically pleasing. Like here's a status of a person. Here's their last Facebook post. Here's their phone number. All this stuff is pre-populated.
Right.
So none of this is real. It's
all bogus.
Yeah. It's all now as a developer, you can get under the hood and you can go clear it all out for testing.
Oh, that's nice.
One of the things that is working right now in this demo model is the phone dialer. Now it looks a little funky on the Nexus 7. Actually, it's not even working right now.
Yeah, here it is.
Oh, there it is.
It came up. I was going to say, it looks pretty.
It looks a little funky, but if I bring it up here on the phone UI, it's definitely it fits a little better on the phone.
Oh
UI.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
it looks a little more natural. It looks like the user space is used a little more appropriate.
And here's the contacts application, and the contacts application is fully functional at this point. Although nobody of actual contact info is in there.
Oh right, sure.
So this is for example, these are just placeholders. These available for download apps. Like if I tap this Evernote icon, nothing happens, right?
Right.
So there's nothing really. These are just sort of placeholders.
Okay,
a lot
gives
of
you an
these-
idea what the layout would
Or
look
like Ski Safari. If I launch Ski Safari, that's just an idea of an HTML5 game, but there's no actual game there.
Oh,
Right, but it shows
okay.
you how I can do something in horizontal. Okay.
So it shows how to adjust.
And then to go
Okay.
back, I would just go back to here, and if I wanted to.
Right.
If I wanted to close it, I could swipe to it, and see, there's different lenses too down
Now,
there.
and show me how you close an app again, because that's
Okay.
something I've seen come up numerous
So I
times.
can't do it.
in
I don't think
articles.
I can do it from the home screen, but if I'm in an
Right.
app, so like say I'm in
Let's
the
say your
Gmail app, right? If I swipe up from the bottom, or if I swipe between applications,
Right.
See, it's a little glitchy
Yeah,
still.
it's got some.
So there, I swipe to the Contacts app. Here, I just swipe to Ski Safari. If I swipe up from the bottom,
There's your X.
I bring up
Okay.
my share options, my settings options, and my close option, and I can close an application.
It's interesting. I like the calculator. It looks pretty
Yeah.
good.
So
yeah,
it's got like what I equate this to, Matt, is a lot of times when we see demos like keynotes, like Sony or somebody or Microsoft or Apple, they're up there demonstrating devices.
Right.
They are at this stage. A lot of placeholder stuff that
Sure.
doesn't work. I mean, like Microsoft demoed Windows Phone and they showed an Angry Birds icon, and then my Angry Birds then came out.
So this is a common practice.
This is,
then.
but
Okay.
we're just getting hands-on experience with it. We don't normally get to see
That's
stuff at this
fascinating.
stage.
So that's good.
Now the question is, Matt, is can they have this in a usable state by October?
Yes, but they're gonna have to have some tough love on their interface. I'm telling you, it depends on if they want uber geeks to use this. Yeah, they could probably keep it as it is. But the way they're closing apps, the way I'm opening things, the way I'm navigating menus, I'm telling you right now,
A little complicated.
it makes Android look like someone that's never used Android before can be a little intimidating. This blows that out of the water with complications. It's
The
way
problem
more
is everything's
complicated.
hidden, but the flip
Yeah.
side is once you find it, you do get more screen real estate.
Right. So I
Because there's-
guess it depends on your target user. I mean, I don't know. My wife, she's not going to use that. I mean, it's just not going to have it. you know.
Angela had no interest in it.
Yeah,
either.
so I mean, no, she's not going to. My wife's not going to say it's horrible, but she just won't have no interest, as you said. So I think that's a factor. Geeks will enjoy it. Regular users, they need to adjust the interface.
They might. What they probably will have to do is come up with ways to do hinting and things like that to let you know where to go next and stuff like that.
I mean, goodness.
All right, so let's talk about the process of getting Ubuntu loaded on one of these devices.
Okay.
So if you're on Ubuntu, you simply grab a PPA. You turn on USB debugging on your Android device,
Sure.
and then they have some programs you run, and those programs essentially, once you've unlocked the bootloader, they take care of a lot of the hard work. They push the image to the phone, they flash the phone for you,
Right.
and then you reboot, and it's running Ubuntu. It's very straightforward. My first reaction was it booted so fast. I looked away because I thought I was going to grab
Right,
was going to grab my camera to get a video of it, and by the time I grabbed my camera, it had already booted into Ubuntu.
So that's So clearly, the booting they got a really good handle on.
Yeah.
and it looks great. So,
So October does feel very close, though, when you think about the work that needs to be done. And by the way, Canonical clarified, people ran reports that Mark Shuttleworth said that they were going to have a device shipping in October. They're going to have finalized code shipping in October, not a device. That's a big difference. So just keep that in mind. Many of the demo apps in here that don't fully work yet, like a great example of a demo app is the Gallery app.
right.
So the Gallery app has a lot of preloaded stuff, but there's no way for me, unless I take a picture with the camera,
Sure.
there's no way for me to add a new photo to this.
Okay.
However, if I SSH into this guy,
You can then actually upload.
I can upload something to the home,
right,
to the.
right.
It's the Phablet user. It runs as the user Phablet. I upload it to Home, Phablet, Photos, and now I can
Okay.
show photos in here. So the underlying technology's there, but they just haven't hooked up a UI button to enable the picture adding yet.
You know, and you said they're going to basically be putting the code out in October. Is this going to be a 1.0 situation? I hope to God it's going to be. If they're smart, I hope to God it's going to be beta, because otherwise they're going to be screwed.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they use the beta moniker. So
I would.
the big question is if they're going to get a lot of people contributing, because there's a lot of stuff that's still sort of in early days.
I take a page from Google. I do beta, and
Yeah.
that way people are excited about it. They're using it.
And it
they're
sets
developing,
expectations.
but they're not going to be bombarding you with. I can't figure out how to do that, because like literally with this thing, I have no idea how to do any of this. I would have to actually spend fairly significant time to remember how to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it's so.
I felt like that, but actually, just in the couple of days I've used it, I actually do feel like I've started to
And I
pick it
may
up.
be overthinking it. I mean, that's,
No, I was feeling like that when I first picked it up.
Were
I
you?
thought, this
It
might
just
be a
feels
problem.
incredibly. Again, I can't get over how gorgeous it is, but I just feel like that there's so much to.
Yeah.
Boy, howdy! I'll tell you.
Now, what's actually a little more interesting than the state of the UI is
Yeah.
how they actually are doing this.
That would be
It's
interesting.
Ubuntu, Matt, but not as we know it.
Not as Ubuntu as we know. So
not
what are
as
they
we
using
know it.
for their video then?
So this is running on top of CyanogenMod 10.1.
Oh, interesting.
It is not, but which, you know, I mean, that's the Android kernel is a Linux kernel with modifications,
Sure.
so it's still Linux.
Right.
They are not. You load CM10, and it is running in a chroot inside CyanogenMod 10, and I have all this in the show notes, but if you were actually browsing the Android file system, if you went to /data/Ubuntu, you would actually see the chroot of the Ubuntu system.
Oh, wow.
So now it doesn't have Dalvik or any of the Java components. It doesn't load any of that.
Right.
They are using, and this is very interesting, they're using the Android display server, not Wayland, not Xorg.
Wow.
They're using, I believe it's called Surface Flinger. And Surface Flinger is the Android compositor.
Yeah.
And the downside to that, and I'm not totally clear on all this, chat room, maybe you can help me on this. I believe that means X11 applications are out. Now, that doesn't mean they couldn't maybe get X11 applications or some sort of something working on top of Surface Flinger. Now, Qt5, which is the official Blest development SDK, uses Qt5.
Sure.
That has support built into it for Surface Flinger. So that is a very interesting choice on Canonical's part. But if you actually think about it, and people are very upset about this in some of the XDA forums. And things like that.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. But
the reason is they are. It's the same reason they're using CyanogenMod 10 base is they need to have support for what the binary blob drivers are written for.
Right.
The video drivers on Android devices are written for the Android display systems.
Exactly.
And so in order to be able to take those drivers and use them in Ubuntu, they need to use Surface Flinger. Just like the same reason they're using CyanogenMod is what we have now seen. We've already seen ports of this to the Samsung Galaxy S3. We're seeing ports of this to some Motorola phones. Essentially, anything you can run CyanogenMod 10.1 on, you can run Ubuntu Touch on.
That's interesting.
That opens up a huge majority of the top-tier Android devices.
It does.
They just
definitely does.
And it also means, and I've been trolling the XDA forums over this, they're already talking about this. You'll be able to dual boot CyanogenMod and Ubuntu Touch on a single device. And they might even be able to build in like GUI management tools to choose which one you want to boot to. So kind of like you can dual boot a Windows machine and an Ubuntu machine today, you'll be able to dual boot an Android machine and an Ubuntu install. So that's very interesting. That also gives them a major compatibility out of the box. Now, what they're doing is they're relying on a piece of technology. And let me find this here because it's actually, it's really cool. Phoronix did a write-up on this. I believe it's called libhybris.
Okay.
And libhybris allows them to use Android-type drivers and translate them to glibc and use them. Yeah, here it is. Speaking of drivers, Ubuntu Touch uses, libhybris, a way to load Android libraries while overriding some of the Bionic symbols with those from glibc. Android kernels are found on the majority of new devices, and Linux is not at this point,
right.
even though it is still kind of Linux. Rather than reinvent the world and write for brand new drivers and expect hardware manufacturers to write drivers for Ubuntu, using libhybris, you can use the existing Android drivers to make the job of porting Linux user space onto these drivers and devices much easier. So you combine that with CyanogenMod to get the basic, to get the band support, to get the bootloader support, to get all of that, to get all the essentials, and then use libhybris to use some of the fancier drivers. So now they have full OpenGL acceleration and all this kind of stuff.
I can see the logic of that.
It means it's not a pure Linux system as we traditionally know it.
It's not, but I think... And I hate to admit this, but I think they're right for actually going this direction because, people are saying, well, what about the X11 apps on a phone or a tablet? Honestly, that would have been a painful experience anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
it's some tough love it's needed.
We saw it on, you see it on Plasma Active, and you do kind of have to wonder if it really is working.
It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense.
Here it is on the, this is on the Galaxy S3. They got, there's a port of Ubuntu Touch working on that. And
here's another interesting fact that just occurred to me. Ubuntu, of course, is still going to be on computers. So by allowing that degree of separation, they're not kidding users into thinking that they're going to run desktop applications on tablets.
Maybe
they're saying, hey, maybe you really should, in fact.
The violation could still happen at the developer level because they could write a Qt app that works on both the desktop and the phone that doesn't work very well in one setup.
True. There could be some exceptions. I think overall it's common sense usability.
Yeah, I want to give a props to Michael Larbel of Phoronix. He's been tweeting a lot of interesting things as he's been playing with it. He's the one that uncovered this using Surface Flinger, which is I think kind of a big deal. He also has noticed there's different kernels depending on what device you use.
That's interesting.
Which is also interesting. Now, it's still a full Ubuntu system inside that chroot. And in fact, to demonstrate that point, I last night using ADB, and there's instructions in the show notes on how to do this.
Oh, cool.
I SSH'd into my phone right here, right now. I've set up. So once you ADB into it, you can enter that chroot environment, and you can use it like a regular Ubuntu command line. So I apt-get installed OpenSSH server, and now I have SSH'd into my phone right here on my laptop. So
I was going to say, I looked at the user, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
So this is right here. This is top running on my Galaxy Nexus, running Ubuntu Touch. And you can see it's running all of the standard processes that you would expect to see on a Linux box. And it does all of the standard Linux commands, like, here's uname. And you can see it's using the 3.031 CyanogenMod kernel right there.
And just to clarify, in case you missed it, this is actually him SSH'd into his device, not into the computer. Yeah.
Right. So, and this is a full Ubuntu environment I'm running in. It has its own namespace. It is, it has a proc file system, and I can see what we get when I go CPU info on the proc file system here. So you can see it is an ARM7 Rev 10 with 597 Bogo MIPS. It's detecting both cores, which is awesome. Nice. So I'm getting dual core support.
That's important.
So this, I got to tell you, Matt, when I SSH'd into my phone, it felt like all of a sudden like a computer and not like a toy.
Right. It suddenly became very real.
Yeah, I realized, wait, could I install Apache on the, all of this stuff just started opening up, and it's very interesting. And so in here I could go, so like right here I'm in the, I think I'm in the phablet users. Yeah, so I'm in home phablet.
Yep.
All of these come preloaded as the user phablet, even though I hate that word. And if I go into pictures, right here I can see the photos that the gallery app is referring to, right?
And this is how you could upload pictures like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. There's also some scripts on here, like to completely remove all of the demo information. If you're a developer and you wanted a clean slate, so you want to take out all the contacts, all the photos, all the messages, they've included some scripts to clear all that out.
Are the scripts just in a directory?
Yeah, I don't even know where they're at, but I know that. So all of this stuff is really well documented on Ubuntu's Touch Preview wiki, and they tell you how to get in here. They tell you how to clear out this stuff. Yes, it's using Display Flinger or Surface Flinger. Yes, it's running in chroot on Cyanogen. But this is no more a valid. This is completely a valid Ubuntu installation in terms of like the underpinning technologies that are here that we have on every Linux system. It's just the way they're accomplishing it is a little unconventional. But again, I think it puts them a step ahead because they have such a broad compatibility that way.
And I think they were at a division in the road. They had to decide between apps or actual hardware support and actually making sure that they had as much as possible. And I think they made the right choice there for sure.
I actually think that they've been pretty rational, and they've broken down.
I would agree.
Here, let's go. If you go to I'll load up here. This is, again, like I mentioned, they have a Touch Wiki that covers a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
And on this Touch Wiki, they also include what from Android they're using. So if you're curious, it uses the Linux kernel, a stock Android kernel provided by the vendor with a few changes for Ubuntu. It uses OpenGL ES. They're not using Android's sound server. They're using Pulse Audio, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That is going to be interesting. There's going to be some interesting results there.
Yeah. So anyways, great resources on this, information on how to pull out, extract blobs from Android if you want to port it to your own Android device. They'll tell you how you extract the binary blobs you need, because again, it's able to use those Android binary blobs.
Right.
So if you have a device that works with Cyanogen, you can go onto this wiki, and people are doing this. I've been talking to people on Google+. They include some scripts. They have a GitHub fork of the CyanogenMod base they're working with, and you can just start committing to that. And I'm really impressed with that aspect of it. I think it's been kind of controversial in its reception, but
I think overall they're on the right track. It's going to, like I said, what they do next is going to make it or break it for them in a lot of ways. But I think hopefully they will beta that next release, because if they do that, it's smooth sailing. They're golden. They're going to do great. It's awesome. But if they don't, I think they're going to have some hurdles.
I think they also, they have so many core apps that they still need the community to write. At this point, here's what does not work. And this is probably why I would not really recommend you go out there and load this on your device.
Okay.
3G, 4G data.
That kind of matters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Audio out via headphones, HDMI out, Bluetooth is not working. Most application and menus are just placeholders. A few do work, like the contacts app, and the phone dialer does work. The charging indicator is a little hit and miss, although it seems to be fine on mine. There's no software center at this point, no MMS, which was sort of a deal breaker for me, which is kind of sucks. No CDMA support.
Oh, wow.
No writing to your SIM card, like contacts information. Auto rotation doesn't really seem to work right now. Sometimes you get random crashing, and notifications are just placeholders. Also, NFC does not work, and a lot of web apps are not fully functional in the browser at this point.
That would be a lot to tackle before October, I think.
So they really have to reach out to the community. And, you know, the XDA forums, or xda-developers.com, are sort of like begging for Canonical to talk to them. Like, we want to help you. Like they say here, what do they say? Just to me, I was reading between the lines. They say virtually none of these features displayed in video even work on devices like the Nexus lineup that are generally easiest to develop for and already fully work on CM10. In fact, the Calendar app is just a PNG placeholder that does not even function. This doesn't mean we feel there isn't a future for this platform. Again, this is the XDA blog post. Sure. But it does mean there are definitely opportunities to improve. Here at XDA, we publicly reach out to offer our services to the Ubuntu Touch project. We have more experience in the mobile development and mobile telephony space than most outfits and have a lot to offer and what could be a tremendous collaboration. We look forward to seeing such collaboration would produce. And they're absolutely right. I've been trolling, like I said, the forums, and they're already very active.
Nice.
It would be very beneficial to Canonical to reach out.
That'd be smart.
Now, just a reminder, just a couple of facts that John will want people to remember. It's definitely unfinished.
Yes.
Limited set of devices. There's an SDK available that you probably should look at for full top to bottom for, you know, the QML app aspect. That's how you load apps on this right now, is by pushing it through Qt Creator. And they're looking for a ton of people to help out. So
this is pre-alpha stuff, man. This is
yeah, it is. I'd say it's pre-alpha. That said, Matt, like
it's pretty good for a pre-alpha, I gotta say.
It is pretty good, and I like it. I like the experience the best on the phone so far because it seems to fit it. The Nexus 10, you're supposed to get multi-user support. You're supposed to get side stage. Now, side stage is when you're on the tablet and you're in landscape mode. You can use tablet apps, and then on the side, sort of like in Windows 8 Metro, you can pin apps to the side of the screen.
Yeah.
Side stage lets you pin the phone apps to the side of the screen.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can have your tablet app on the main screen and a phone app over there with its narrow aspect ratio, and you can be multitasking.
Nice.
You could have the web browser up and the Messenger app.
See, that could be, for all intents and purposes, their killer app.
And then theoretically later on, you dock it, and it becomes a full Unity interface.
That would be.
I think they're playing a little. Aaron Seigo had a pretty insightful Google Plus post where he said the language is a little vague, and I think people are kind of misconstruing what's going to be possible. I think if you only follow the marketing videos, you would be under the impression that it would just be a matter of finding a deb of like your favorite app, installing it and running it, and it would actually work. That's not the case.
No, not at all.
It is not.
But they're trying to build buzz.
Yeah, they're trying to get there, and I would take their marketing speak as like their guidelines right now. Right. But to your point, I just want to reiterate. I really do feel like the UI is starting to become second nature to me. It's not trouble-free, but I actually really dig this side dock.
The side dock is fine. I love that.
I think because
it's getting to the other stuff and closing things. It takes a little getting used to.
And the home screen's nice. It's very well done.
Home screen's fantastic. Like I said, there's a lot I love about it.
Yeah.
There's those certain points. There's certain details that must be ironed out.
Here's a great example. So let's say I wanted to buy a video, right?
Sure.
And these are popular videos online, and I could even go just to the videos lens, I see like actual movies.
Right.
So maybe I want to get The Last Stand. Right now it's not hooked to. Oh, there it goes. So right now it's not hooked to these things, but like I could actually buy it from Amazon. I'm sure that'd be affiliated, or I could rent from Ubuntu One. They have a rating in there. They have information.
That's good.
It's a nice experience for users who want to have a content ecosystem with their smart device. For me, I'd probably just load it on an SD card or something like that, but it's there for people that want it.
So that part of it, I think they've nailed.
Check this out. I don't think it fully works yet. We could demo it right here live on air. Let's see. Can I? See, I'm not. How do I bring it? Let's switch to this app.
See, this is what I'm talking. Yeah, it's like the remember.
Well, it's like the bottom bar doesn't come up.
I'm wanting to Android it, so you have to unlearn your previous smartphone experiences. If you've never used one, I guess. Let's try
saying a command. Let's see if this is. I don't think this is hooked up.
Oh, maybe. Oh, wow, it is.
Loading, please wait. Okay.
Yeah, that's what.
And it's got and I think it just spins. I don't think it. It actually. Oh, it's actually catching my speech there. So, anyways, oh yeah, see, look at that. It actually somehow captured tab. Huh. So what's neat about that, right, is I could just say open new tab, and it would open a new tab in my browser. We'll see.
That's cool.
We'll see, Matt.
That's cool.
I would say if you have a Nexus 10, that's where I'd load it. The Nexus 7 experience at this point is just a scaled up phone experience.
Right.
The Nexus 10 experience really seems to be where it's at. You get the sideshow, you get all that kind of stuff. Tons of resources in the show notes this week, you guys. Yep. I spent a lot of time yesterday putting all of this, consolidating this all in one information about the underpinnings of the OS. Right now, my surprise, based on Ubuntu 12.10. Not based on 13.04 yet.
Really?
Yeah, in fact, I wonder.
Although maybe, they're wanting something a little more stable to work with.
Yeah, I don't know.
A little less fresh.
I guess maybe they figured, maybe that's because they didn't want to push out something that was in development. Yeah, that's probably what
makes
it was.
sense because there's still gonna be a lot of changes. Sure.
Although I'm running 1304 here, and it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, lots of stuff in the show notes. We have links to 3 or 4 reviews, including the correction about no actual devices shipping.
Right.
I thought one of the harder critics was the H Online. They did a write up about the phone, and they were,
I like these guys because they don't pull any punches and they're not blowing sunshine at my backside when I read their articles.
No, they were very.
I love their
so
articles.
Here's their summary. The preview only supports a limited voice and SMS over GSM. There's no CDMA, LTE, airplane mode, emergency call support. So no, that's very important. No lock SIM support. No SIM file system. No speakerphone. No MMS. So very limited. They consider it to be an unoptimized operating system, which will need a lot of work in the next 9 months if Canonical are to deliver on schedule. The Nexus 7 variant looked very much like the phone edition, just scaled up.
Yeah.
I agree with their assessment, although
I mean, there's a lot of niceties that they could have added, but I like that they really got down to the nitty gritty of if you're wanting to do this by October, you got a laundry list of things to be addressed.
And Canonical has even said that they have not even really dug into the full optimization mode yet. So
That's
memory
fair.
management isn't up to snuff yet and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if they're writing in Qt and QML, that's actually a very straightforward development environment to rapidly create stuff in. They're basing it on established kernels and display managers that already have support for the hardware.
Sure.
So that battle's already been fought for them. So they're actually in a pretty good position to leap ahead. And where a lot of the other initiatives like Sailfish or Firefox OS are truer Linux implementations, you might be able to argue, they have the uphill battle of requiring much deeper hardware manufacturer participation.
Where I see this now is I think Ubuntu specifically will destroy Firefox OS and all the others. I don't think there's even a contest. They won't even end up on the radar because Ubuntu's already addressed the hardware stuff head on to where that's done. They've pretty much got that figured out.
Yeah,
so
and the thing is, they're leveraging devices people already love, like the Galaxy S3, the Nexus 7, the Nexus 10. I mean, these are devices that Canonical doesn't have to convince people to buy. Yeah. Whereas with the Firefox and the Sailfish OS phones, you're not just selling a new OS, but you're also going to be selling a piece of hardware that might not be as competitive.
And that's
with
not going to work.
Yeah. So that's a huge element of this that I think is already solved for them.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I think even if Ubuntu has some stuttering to go along with all this, and they really are kind of running into some issues early on, and they don't go with a beta and all that other stuff, I think overall in the long term they're on the right path.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's not prime time. It's preview mode. I'm gonna take it off my Nexus 7 because the functionality that Jelly Bean offers me on this is just not matched by Ubuntu Touch Preview yet. However, I'm gonna toy with the idea of keeping it on the phone. I'm gonna give it another week. I don't use the phone a lot for calls.
I wonder what they're thinking is with keeping with Pulse Audio. And for the people that are wondering, well, Pulse Audio sucks. No, it's because you're not using it right. That's partly the
I
problem.
wonder. Maybe we could get one of them on and talk about that. It might be...
Because, I mean, I know how to use Pulse Audio to a degree to where I can do more with Pulse Audio than I can with other sound systems. I mean, like you can send audio to other stuff. I mean, it depends on
over
controls.
the network and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe so that's why, because, wouldn't it be great to have a... So, by the way, one of the things I've noticed in some of these... see, I'll bring up an app here. And one of the things I've noticed in this little screen here is there's this little, I don't know what that button is.
A help?
Well, there's the help button, but then this button next to it almost could be like send to another display.
Yes.
And wouldn't that be nice because one of the nice things on my wife's iPad Mini and her iPhone is she can AirPlay to our Boxy Box.
Right. It may be because I know there's an open implementation.
So if you had like
AirPlay.
A Pulse Audio receiver on your desktop, because Ubuntu could just turn that on built into Ubuntu desktop, and then they could just auto discover each other using Avahi, and then I could just send Pulse Audio to my computer, which. Honestly, I would love to be able to do because in the car I start listening to a podcast and I want to finish it at my desk. Yep. I would love to be able to do that. So
I think that's probably what that is, and Pulse Audio would allow them to do that. And as far as controlling things with, let's say you're making a Skype call, whether it be on your computer or on your phone, using the control applet, you're able to actually choose what device you're using as input. So maybe you're wanting to switch input halfway through a phone call. Maybe managing the Bluetooth to handset. Yeah. Maybe it has to do with that too.
Maybe. So we're going to keep, definitely keep tabs on this, see where it goes. And if something really interesting crops up with this, we'll let you guys know. Now, I think the week this episode comes out, they're going to be demoing it at Mobile World Congress. So we'll probably get some little tidbits out of that. And if there's anything that's worth our time, we'll cover it for you guys in the future episode.
Nice.
All right, Matt. Well, let's go give away some Loot Crate because that's the Linux Action Show's look at the Ubuntu Touch Preview. brings us to the end of this week's broadcast, but we have a little giveaway to do, Matt.
We sure do.
Now, for the last couple of weeks, we've asked you to send in your Doctor Who themed desktop, and then we would randomly pick one of the submitters, and you will win 3 months of Loot Crate absolutely free.
3.
No credit card required. You just get the epic goodness for 3 months in a row. Now, we got some great submissions. We're going to show a couple of our favorites to you.
Yes.
Matt went through and picked out a few great ones. However, these are all really cool, and we will link all of them in the feedback thread for this week's episode of Linux Action Show over in our subreddit. So go to linuxactionshow.reddit.com, find Season 25, Episode 9,
Yep.
and you'll see all of them in that thread there. All right, Matt, so now our first one came from... where
are we at?
Christian? I think Christian.
Yeah, Christian.
Christian, right? With a very, very, very Doctor Who themed desktop.
Love
all the way
launcher
from
icons. That was really what caught my attention more than anything. Is the color scheme, the Doctor Who icons. I mean, just looked really tight.
I like the tie-in with the icons. That's definitely nice, and then theming the file manager and all the other colors. It's just
nicely
very
done.
very nice. So well done, Christian. Now the next one came from
Karim.
Karim.
Yeah, I believe Karim.
And Karim really went all out here. Karim's got like some people gimped in there. He's got widgets that look kind of Doctor Who-y themed.
I loved everything about this desktop. I love the widgets. I love the fact that
I love his KDE bar.
It looks like him and perhaps a significant other are a part of that. And then, of course, the icons.
It doesn't really show up on that. There you go. You can see the KDE bar. It looks really awesome.
There you go. You got it.
So this is a very nice one.
He clearly spent some time, putting this together, and I thought that was really cool. Looks very, very Doctor Who.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
Even got the bow tie. Good choice. Nicely done.
This one, I believe, this one's Linda's, right? This one was Linda Dean. She sent this in, and I like that she went the Lego route.
She went the Lego route. She actually sent me 2 images. This one, and then also the image of her and her son putting together these Legos, and then actually spending probably a better part of the day trying to get just the right camera
shot,
angle.
Yeah.
Yep, and make the inside of the TARDIS look
I like
the
that
TARDIS.
it's Lego,
Yeah.
and everything is communicated. I mean, it's immediately recognizable as a Doctor Who scene. You got the dinosaurs in there. You got the Lego time machine.
I love it.
It's very good. So well done, Linda.
And a TARDIS out of Legos. I mean, that's score on that. That's
all right.
cool.
Now our next submission, Matt, comes from I'm going to say
Carstorm. Carstorm. Yeah.
Carstorm, and he submitted what is almost like an 8-bit.
Yeah, it's got a very 8-bit.
Now, really, the only Doctor Who theme thing on here would probably be
the TARDIS.
The TARDIS is on there. You got a Doctor Who little icon on there, and I'm going to just say that this little broadcast antenna is like
little Play-Doh there.
It's like us broadcasting to Doctor Who or something.
Yeah.
So it's fine. He's got the 8-bit Linux Action Show logo down there. Yeah.
That's very cool. So, and again, it was DIY, so I thought
and
that
another
was cool.
KDE.
Yep.
And another KDE.
Little KDE action there.
All right, Matt. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take those. Those are the 11 submissions that were picked for the show here, and we're going to run them through 1 through 11 through a random number generator just over at random.org, and whichever we've assigned each person a line entry. So whoever wins, whoever never comes out. All right, here comes number 4.
Ooh, number 4. This way, it's nice and random, and there's no favoritism or none of that.
Oh, number 4 goes to Christian, which was the I
launcher icons. Wow.
Was it the first one or the second one?
That was going to be whoever has. Yeah, that's him right there.
Yeah, the one with the themed. The one with the themed colors and the launcher icons.
And so I have your email address, and so what I will do is I will make sure that Loot Crate gets that, and we will get you your 3 free months of Loot Crate.
Very, very nice. Now, don't worry. If you didn't win, but you submitted, I'm going to take the other folks that didn't win, and I'm going to add them into a pot we're doing for the faux show for a TechSnap 100 t-shirt giveaway.
Oh, sweet.
So
good deal.
You'll be included in that. So if you didn't win this time, you might win that time. So stay tuned for that. That'll be in the faux show at a future date. Probably once the TechSnap t-shirt things are all wrapped up. Right. Now, should we open a Loot Crate?
Let's open a Loot Crate.
All right, let's do it.
Maybe
Maybe I'll get a new sticker or something. I
smell t-shirt.
Oh, now have you ever played Diablo 3?
Not really.
I have. It's a lot of clicking.
Yeah.
But it's
a lot of clicking.
It is a lot of clicking. Yeah, I kind of gave it up when they had all the wine stuff. But then after they came out, we're kind of apologetic. I've actually reinstalled it again recently. So look, so here we have.
Oh, nice. Got some t-shirt.
Diablo 3 shirt, I believe. Right?
Sweet. Yeah.
That's nice. That's really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, good.
And now that they're doing t-shirt sizes, they're able to actually accommodate that when you sign up for Loot Crate, so you're good to go.
What the heck?
What is what?
Zombie jerky.
Oh, see, and I thought it was Chris's stash. I was like, dude, we're not supposed to put your stash in the box.
Don't put the stash in the loot box. Yeah, it's green.
I mean, it's legal here now, but still.
It's look at that.
Well, we now have a show title. It's Chris's stash.
All right. Now, there's also some more zombie-themed stuff in here. Zombie pea brains.
Wow.
Which are little hot peas in there. That's cool. That's a nice little snack. And actually, not too bad either for the health. Oh!
Got some.
vampire teeth. I'm going to save those for Dylan.
Yep, he'll love that.
Yeah, and got some
Magic
energy
potion.
love potion.
Wow.
I've been actually I've seen this stuff before. It has
work?
It's like a little energy shot.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. And it's got honey goatweed in it, which is how it's sweetened. I've heard about this before actually, and it's got
wow.
Yeah, instead of like high fructose, it's got like a bunch of different stuff in there.
Cool.
So
cool.
low sugar. So anyways,
Nice.
that's cool. Love potion, dog tag,
Nice.
and some buttons,
Got
some zombie buttons.
Zombie buttons.
But no sticker.
No stickers,
sticker.
but that's
Maybe-
okay. We got a T-shirt.
We
so
got
that's
we got
okay.
a shirt, and that's actually a lot nicer than a
Nice.
sticker. So we'll
Works
wait
for
for and I'm planning to get a lot of stickers at Linux Fest for the laptop.
And I love
too.
that they give you the little placard card and tells you all the
Yeah,
stuff you got.
here's the little tour of what you get.
Yeah.
So
nicely
anyways,
done.
thank you to Loot Crate for sponsoring the show.
Big
Go over to
thank you.
lootcrate.com/Linux if you want to sign up and get yourself a box of Epic Geek and Gamer swag.
Doing a lot of great themes. Doctor Who is the most recent one, and who knows what they'll do next.
Now, since we did the screenshots, we're going to skip the emails this week, but we'll double up on it. Did I say that last week? We might have to do just all feedback episodes.
we may
next
do a
week.
feedback episode and cover it, but we
Yeah.
are seeing them. We are cataloging them. We'll get to
Yeah,
it.
you know, we got a lot of questions. If you would do me a favor, join us live on Sunday, next Sunday. Join us at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. What would I say, 6 p.m. UTC? Because we're going to do, I think we'll do a Q&A episode.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not positive yet, but I think we will, and we might create a quorum of advisors via a Google Plus Hangout.
Yeah.
And we'll be soliciting people from the chat room to join us if we do that. So tune in next Sunday, jblive.tv.
Can we do like a Jedi Council with robes?
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Well, they have to supply their own robes.
oh,
But if they got robes, then I encourage
could
them
totally
to
do
wear
that,
it.
yeah.
Unless something big comes up, I think we'll plan to do that next week.
Okay.
All right, Matt. Well, what do you
Cool.
want people to know about before we get out of here?
As always, you can find me at datamation.com. Scroll down to open source and just click on me there. And of course, you can also find me on Facebook. And that Facebook URL is Facebook. And then I think the
Did you put that in the show notes?
tag is in the show notes because I
Okay.
can't think of what the heck it was. It's like Matt Hartley Public, I believe.
Yeah, Matt. Facebook.com/Matt Hartley Public.
Public.
Yeah.
Public with an L.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, well, you can find links to my Google Plus and Twitter profiles in the show notes. I'm twitter.com/ChrisLAS, or just search for Chris Fisher on Google Plus. Just a real quick plug, I mentioned it just a second ago. The TechSnap 100 t-shirt is only 9 days left. We're not going to make this after it's done, and it's to celebrate episode 100 of the TechSnap program, and it's a Patch Your S special
Crazy
edition.
cheap and limited edition at that.
Yeah, yep.
And you
9 days, 6 hours left.
And you get to have Alan on your chest. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very personal.
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
Yeah, very, very nice to have Alan right there. Always reminding
right
you,
by your heart,
Always
right?
reminding you to patch. Always
Absolutely.
patch.
It's
yeah.
patching your heart. That is, yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. Time. It is the news time. It's time for the news. News. Yeah. News time.
Can't unsee that.
No. Maybe just one like that. So here at the what's that? There chat room. That there chat room.
Oh yeah.